Hello, hello. Here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the Low Carb Kickstart event. I hope if anyone's able to join this live, I hope today's going well so far. And I certainly hope that now that we're in the middle of this week that you've been able to try some low carb swaps, maybe experiment with a couple of the options that are on that meal plan. And if you have, I just hope you're enjoying it. Obviously, it's only a couple of days in. I totally know if you've been busy and haven't had a chance to follow it perfectly, which is fine as well. But I certainly hope that it's got you thinking a little bit and trying something new and getting that thought of, could this be a way of eating that I can do? That's my hope. So I certainly hope that it's doing that for you. And today's topic is really one that is so important for so many of us who struggle with our weight. Because when you really step back and think about it, weight loss is not just about knowing what to eat. If only it were that easy. I always say to people, if food was the answer, then we would have done a diet when we were younger. We would have worked out what we can do to lose weight. And guess what? We would have lost the weight and probably kept it off because we knew the answer then. We knew how to eat. And so many people come to see me and they're like, Cheryl, I know what to do, but I'm not doing it. Can you help? And this is the thing, isn't it? If we know what to do, why aren't we doing it? It's stepping bigger. There's a lot more at play here than just simply, oh, here's a food plan, just follow that, and you're going to lose all your weight and keep it off. So this is only 5 days. We don't have time to get into that nitty gritty and deal with all of those issues. But what I want to share with you in this event is the fact that emotional eating is normal. Most of us do it and it's okay. It's not abnormal. But B, you can still do it in a low carb way and reach your goal. That's a really important thing to know because so much of our trauma around weight loss is this need to be perfect. And if we can't do it a certain way, we go from all to nothing. And I think with emotional eating, we just have to accept for many of us being perfect is just not possible. And you don't have to be perfect. Some days we just need to eat something yummy. And that's okay too. So if you can do it in a low carb way, it makes a huge difference, not just physically in terms of not gaining weight, but more importantly, mentally, because it's like you're staying in the game, you're staying on track, you're not switching from this all to nothing and then ending up face first in all the food with the old, I'll start again on Monday, this has just turned to crap, I'm just going to enjoy myself and start again on Monday, and then just gain a couple of kilos back, right? We've all done it, we've all been there. There is no need to do that. I've had a few questions emailed through, so what I'm going to talk about is sweeteners. I'm going to talk about good dressings. How I had someone say, how do I stay motivated when I'm so damn tired and menopausal? Perfect for today's topic. So I'm going to talk about that. How do we know how many carbs are in food? That was a question. How do we know what carbs we have to weigh or measure? So I'll talk about that. Whether if we're emotionally eating, it's better to go for low calorie or low carb. That whole calories versus carb debate, I'll talk about that. And then I just saw a lovely question there from you, Susie, about bread. Well, your hubby, but he doesn't like low carb bread. So I'll talk about that as well. And before I talk about that, I'll just quickly share how emotional eating comes up in my life. It's so fascinating to me because yesterday, here I am finishing off all the resources for today, and I got smacked in the face with a huge emotional thing, which I thought was really interesting that it happened to me at a time when I'm talking about emotional eating. So I'm just going to quickly share with you. It's going to be a bit personal. I hope you don't mind, but I like to share the truth, and I think it's really important. And hopefully you'll benefit from hearing that in terms of how I coped and how hopefully that might help you if something happens in the future, because I've been on this journey a long time. So the way I reacted was very different how I might have reacted in the past, but goodness knows for the first many years of being on this journey, I didn't react that well, very imperfectly. So I'm always sharing that with my clients. We all walk the talk. No one's perfect here. And yesterday, what really saved me was the three word phrase that I think is so important. I have it written, I've written it in a marker on my bathroom window, and it's these 3 words: structure equals freedom. As an emotional eater, I know we often want to do what we feel like. Oh, I just want to do what I feel like. I don't want to feel restrictive. I don't want to have to think about this. But when our feelings lead us to bad, not great food, high carb food, high sugar food, maybe we can't always trust our feelings when it comes to food. And if in the past with me, when I've gone on and said, I'm just going to do what I feel like, I don't want to follow a food plan anymore. I just want to, I want to be like a normal person. I'll just do what I feel like. Well, for me, the scales have only gone in one direction, and it is not down. I find that when we leave this up to Cheryl's feelings, I don't know, the scales just start kind of going up, and we start eating things that aren't great again. Again, I'm talking more historically, but that's what happens. So I've just accepted that having a structure of eating gives me freedom. Yesterday, I sit down in the morning and I'd written out my food plan. So I do that every morning. You'd have to excuse yesterday's page because it's really messy, because as I said, it was a bit emotional. It's really messy, and I doodled. But I wrote down in the morning what I was going to eat, and I had my food ready. I knew what I was going to eat, all sorted. I'd cooked a roast chicken, and I'd cooked it early, which was great because, as it turned out, in the afternoon, we had some really devastating news. It was quite a shock. It was a shocking thing. It made me feel nauseous. That made me want to puke. And I often think, if only I was somebody who didn't eat when they got like that. Those people who get really stressed and then don't eat? I wish I was that person. Wouldn't that be nice? But I'm not. Like, for me, once the nausea had passed, I just wanted to eat. It's like my body says, we've had a shock. We better eat something, Cheryl, because, the shit's hit the fan. So let's eat. And yesterday, I had a feeling of nausea, and once that had passed, luckily, because I'd set myself up for the day and I had all my food organized, I had this beautiful roast chicken. So once the shock had passed, I just got that chicken and I had a big portion, probably more than I needed. Might have been about 200 grams, yummy chicken, and I put some mayonnaise on the top. And then when that was finished, I had my square of dark chocolate, and then I didn't eat again. That was my dinner. So despite that very difficult thing, I was able to stay on track because I was organized, because I'd planned my food in advance, and it was there and it was yummy. Now, I also have an emergency box in my pantry that has a protein bar, often a protein cookie. And if I'd wanted to yesterday, if I didn't have food ready, I could have gone to that emergency box and grabbed something, because I do like the sweet stuff, the sugar-free alternatives. So that was ready as well. Luckily, I had real food, which was always going to be best. That was ready to go. So being organized can really help protect you on those days where you just don't quite know how it's going to go, and it doesn't turn out in your favor. I could stay on track, which was an awesome win. And I wrote that down in my wins book. I've got a little book that I record my wins in each day. And that was my big win for me yesterday. This morning I got up, I journaled. I journaled over this incident yesterday. I probably spent about at least half an hour scribbling all those feelings down. And it was such a good release. I felt so much better. I'm not going to eat over that problem today because I've already released all of the pent-up emotion about it. It's come out. It came out on the page. I blurted it all out, and I feel so much better. This journaling thing is a game changer, and I've included those templates in your workbook today for a reason, because it works. I became incredibly dedicated to this process when we went into lockdown. Before then, I dabbled in journaling. I'd do it sometimes, but life was pretty easy. Things were pretty good. Didn't really need it that often. In lockdown, man, I needed it. And so I did it every day, and I soon saw how amazingly powerful it was. So if you don't have a process of journaling and you're an emotional eater, I cannot recommend enough to start making that a little daily habit, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Just go through the prompts that I've given you in the workbook. It will change your life. I can't emphasize that enough. It's helped so many of my clients. And I know it's something that many of us resist, but if you're willing to be open minded to it, it is going to help you deal with your emotions so you don't eat over it. And I've had to make some very horrible phone calls this morning. But you know what? I got through it. I put my big girl pants on. I did it. It's done. The situation isn't quite as bad as we thought. I feel a lot better now, and I have not eaten over it, and I will not eat over it. Structure equals freedom. My scales aren't going up because of this incident. Hell no. So please do the journaling. I think it's going to really help, and it's free. So many things in this weight loss journey that will really change your life and your weight loss are free. Mindset work, drinking water, going to bed on time, making a quick food plan all day. None of it costs money. It's just you being aware of it and being willing to spend a little bit of your time. If you want your goal, I know you're going to do it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about sweeteners. And I mentioned this briefly yesterday, but Sharon from Keto Store, hi Sharon, she reminded me too, which is so helpful, just the importance of being aware with your products what sweeteners are in them. And it's something that I have been aware of too with the irritable bowel. So always look in any, a lot of the products that we might turn to when we're feeling emotional, the sweeter stuff, just always be really, really aware of the sweeteners that are in them. And especially if you have any issues with your gut, definitely avoid maltitol because it can have an impact on blood sugar levels, okay? So I just want to emphasize that again because it is really important and it's something that we want to look at. And even when we're emotionally eating, we don't want to go and emotionally eat a couple of Atkins bars and then end up with our stomach blowing up and having to spend the whole afternoon on the toilet because then you've got another problem to have to worry about. Then you'll be emotional about that. We don't want that, okay? You've got enough to deal with. We don't need the toilet blowout as well. And just on the note of Keto Store, oh my God, protein pastries, what is that about? Sharon's just posted on our group that there's protein pastries available. Seriously, I hope you don't mind, Sharon. I'm definitely going to be making the most of that little discount code you've given us because I need some of that in my life right now. If I'd had a protein pastry yesterday, that would have been another good backstop if I didn't have my food ready. Protein pastry, yum. I mean, how lucky are we? It's just so cool to see the options that are available now. You can have something in your emergency box. If that moment strikes, you're ready to go. You're one step ahead of yourself. Honestly, it makes such a difference. I'm definitely looking forward to trying that one. And I had another comment about dressings and tomato sauce. And I think, again, just remember that yes, there might be a little bit of sugar in that, but it's in the big scheme of things, it is a really small amount. So unless you're doing low carb for inflammation, like if you're really, really concerned about inflammation, then I wouldn't necessarily buy some of the ready-made dressings or sauces because often they are made with seed oils. Now, when we step back a bit bigger, we could say, yes, seed oils aren't that great for inflammation. So if I'm working with someone who's got an autoimmune condition and we're really, really trying to target inflammation, normally I'd suggest they make their own dressings because that way you can use a good quality olive oil, just make a small amount, you're not going to have the additives in it, things like that, or just look for a really good high quality dressing or sauce that doesn't have too many numbers in it, and certainly, seed oils. That is a bigger topic and not something that obviously we can cover in great depth in a challenge like this, but I just think it's always good to not overcomplicate things, but also be really aware of what your goal is and knowing that there are always products out there that you can have that will suit your goal if you've got more in mind than just needing to lose weight. Right. How do I stay motivated when I'm so tired and menopausal? Yep, I feel you. And I bet many women watching this feel it as well. We are tired and there's so many things on our to-do list, right? A big list. And normally we come kind of at the bottom, yeah? Because we put everyone else above us. Very common. And all I will say to this is, how do you stay motivated? Well, you've got to want your goal more than you want the food. That's it. When people aren't motivated when they're coming to see me and they're struggling, I always say the same question. What's your goal? When was the last time you reminded yourself how important it is? And I know the answer. They might know their goal, but then the last time they looked at it was like 2 weeks ago when they got out their journal or something and they haven't looked at it since. Think of your goal like a fire. I often use this analogy. Bodybuilders, they've got a date, right? They've set this date. They're going to be on stage in their little hot bikini, and they've got to lose a shit ton of weight often and get their body in this amazing state. So they will devote their entire life to that goal because they've got their date happening on stage. Now, I'm not saying this is healthy, by the way, but think of their goal. Their goal is burning like a bonfire. If you've ever known a bodybuilder, you will know that you could, apart from holding them down and shoving food in their gob, you're not going to get them to be tempted to eat food because they are hell bent on this goal, right? You would say completely focused, maybe obsessed, whatever word you would use. Their goal is everything. It's a bonfire. Now compare that to someone whose goal is, oh yeah, well, I'd quite like to lose a few kilos before I go away. Yeah, I'd like to lose a couple of kilos. Yeah, where's my food plan? Oh, yeah. Oh, 5 o'clock. You want a glass? Oh, do I want a glass of wine? Oh, actually, it's been a hard week. Yes, please. Think of that goal like a little birthday candle that's just flickering. I'm going to go like this. You want a glass of wine? Oh, yeah, okay, why not? Oh, it's my birthday. I've got some cake. Would you like some? Oh, yeah, okay. And then we're back on that path. We're spiking our insulin. Oh, I feel bloated. Oh, I'm so pissed off at myself. Oh, why can't I be on track? Like the whole thing. So you want to make your goal like the bonfire. You want to get up every morning and remind yourself, this is what I'm doing and this is why it matters. This is my why. And when your why is important, you will do it. Just the same way you've achieved every other goal in your life. If you're doing this for somebody else, you're going to do it. You're going to do it because we so often put other people above us. You've just got to make your goal more important than everything else on your to-do list. And when you're willing to do that, you're not going to have a problem with motivation. Even if you are menopausal, I mean, some days are always better than others. Some days are harder, but you'll still do something because you want it. That's the key in this journey. You got to want it. You got to want the goal more than the food or the alcohol. When that happens, you'll be winning. Okay, if I'm emotionally eating, is it better to eat low calorie food or low carb? I would say it's best if you do both. I mean, how awesome would that be? Like choose some low carb options that are also low calorie. That would be a huge win. But really, I'm going to go out on my low carb bandwagon and say, I would argue you're still better to eat low carb because of two reasons. Number one, it's just more satiating, it's more filling, it's more real food. So while you may have the intention to eat something low calorie, what if you can't stop? What if you're going for some water crackers with tomato on the top or dipped into hummus or I don't know, something that might be lower calorie, popcorn. I don't know, something that you think, oh, that's better because I can eat more. But then you're shoving it in your face and you keep going and then you end up going back for more and I might have an apple. Or, like you're trying to fill this empty void inside and you're just keeping going and going and going and going. So while it may have started off as low calorie, you end up eating 500 calories of low calorie, unsatisfying crap. I could easily see that happening. I do see that happening when I look at people's diaries and what's going on. Now let's compare that to low carb. If you're eating a dense protein bar, you've got to chew it. It's going to take time. It's going to slow you down. If you were eating real food, well, gosh, you can only eat so much real food and then your brain gets that trigger that says, oh, I've eaten now, I'm full. You can stop. When you eat healthy fats, it sends a trigger to your brain that says, yeah, you've eaten now, you can stop eating. When you eat low calorie food, which is often low in fat, you don't get that off switch. That's why your mouth just keeps on going like a maniac. So eat low carb, eat real food. You feel full sooner and hopefully you will calm the farm and be able to get back on track sooner. So that's number one reason. But number two reason is the mental side. When we've made a commitment to a goal and we've said, yep, this is how I'm going to do it, you staying on track is really important mentally because when we feel like we're in the game, we feel good about that. And even if we've overeaten a bit, if we've done it with the right foods, mentally we're still in this box of, yep, I'm still in the game. I'm still in the game. When we go back to sugar, low calorie, high carb, often foods, we get a huge insulin spike. Our blood sugars go all over the place. We feel tired. We feel disappointed in ourselves. We just fall off the wagon. And how long are we going to be off the wagon for? A day? 2? A week? Is it going to be a kilo? Is it going to be 5? That's the risk. So stay in the game, stay low carb, damage will be kept to a minimum, and you can just regroup and carry on. You probably guessed I was going to say that. And then lastly, this fun question that I saw from Susie in the Facebook page where she said, my overweight hubby doesn't like low carb bread, but he likes the wraps. I had a little laugh at that. And then she said, what about thin Vogels? Well, let me just tell you quickly about thin Vogels, Susie. Unfortunately, even though it's thin, it has a big impact on blood sugars. And I recently did a blood sugar test on myself. I got a glucose monitor and I was experimenting, testing higher carb options with lower carb options when the calories were the same. And I was just doing my own experiment to see what impacted my blood sugars and testing things. It was really fun. And I did a little test of thin Vogels versus Jerry's. Same calories, same time of day, exactly the same meal, except I swapped out thin Vogels for Jerry's. And I know I'm only one person, but my testing showed me that the thin Vogels, even though it had exactly the same calories in the meal, it spiked my blood sugars. They went up by double, more than double actually, compared with the Jerry's, and they stayed higher for nearly an hour longer. That is massive. That makes a huge, huge difference. And if that's something that you're doing often, if he eats bread often, now if he's eating bread once a fortnight, I wouldn't even worry about it. Honestly, no big deal. But if you find that bread is coming in more frequently, that is going to make a huge difference. And if he starts the day with thin Vogels, that might be it. His blood sugars might be up, fat burning's turned off, and he's not seeing results, which is going to make him pissed off. Then he's going to give up. So what I recommend is this. If you haven't already tried it, the one thing I would suggest is the Jerry's almond and coconut bread. I mentioned this the other day in low carb swaps, but I've got a sample to show right now because that bread is the closest thing to white bread that you'll find, and it's yummy, and I haven't heard of anyone who doesn't like it. Not that I'm the world's expert, but I've been talking to a lot of people since it was launched this year, and I want to show you that Jerry's have also just brought out these white buns. I posted these in my Facebook group. This is a brand new product. It's not coming out till, I think, September. So maybe in a week or so, you'll be able to order this online. But they are so yummy. I tried one, and I've actually got another one, and I cut up to show you. So this bun is very grunty. It's thick. It's heavy. Like you can wrap your mouth around it. You're going to feel satisfied. You can get it in your gob. But look how yummy and soft it is. Like that is like white bread. Like you could serve this at a barbecue. No one's going to know the difference. There's none of those seeds in place. Like it's soft. It's like a pillow. Seriously, people, this is so yum. I didn't actually eat it as a burger because I find that's probably a bit much for me. It's, it is quite thick. So I cut it in half. I got a half. I grilled it and put Marmite and cheese on the top. That was very delicious. So I think, don't give up. Try the almond and coconut bread because if he likes that, that is going to be substantially better than thin Vogels. Thin Vogels has still around about 20 grams of carb, maybe a little bit less, but it's still that high, whereas your almond and coconut bread has 3.4 grams of carb for 2 pieces. I mean, that makes a huge, huge difference. This particular buns, as you can see, it's quite big. Each bun has 200 and, oh my God, I need my glasses. Been old. Okay, 240 calories, so quite substantial. That's a good amount. 22 grams of protein. Hello, that's as much. That's a whole meal there. That's why I didn't put meat on the top of my bun because actually I'm getting really good protein with just the bun. 8 grams of carb, and that's for this whole bun. So you could make a beautiful low carb burger. Meat patty, cheese, lettuce, the works, Big Mac sauce. How happy is your husband going to be? I'm looking forward to hearing how that goes. And let's just be so grateful of all the yummy products we've got to try because honestly, it just really does, as I keep saying, make it easy. And it means we don't have to cook it ourselves, which is even more of a win because my bread rolls would not turn out like that, I'm pretty sure. Brilliant. Hey, look, thank you so much for joining me today. It's great to have you here. Thank you for being part of this event. And if you are struggling with emotional eating, I just want to finish today by saying you are not alone. This is a very common thing. It's not easy, but if you're willing to put some work in, do some journaling, get your structure, set yourself up for success, you can do it. I know you can, because if I can do it, anyone can. And I remember when, gosh, I've always got the stories, haven't I? I remember when I started working for my nutritionist in Ponsonby all those years ago, 14 years ago. I'd been a client of hers for many years, and I used to think that I was the most effed in the head person there was. I used to sit in my appointments. I had the terrible sugar addiction at that time. You know, my whole life was going so well, and yet I just couldn't sort this bloody food thing out. Why did I do these stupid things with food? Why could I not follow the plan perfectly like other people can? You know, that was my journey because I certainly had a bit of a sugar addiction, which makes it very tricky. But I used to sit there. Sometimes I'd cry in appointments. Honestly, I was like a hot mess, but I never quit. I always showed up, even through the yucky times. And I know that's how I was able to keep my weight off, right? Anyway, then I decided to become a nutritionist, and my nutritionist was really supportive, which was a huge confidence boost for me because she knew me better than anyone. And she said to me, Cheryl, you know, the day that I told her I was thinking of changing my career and becoming a nutritionist, I was quite scared to tell her because she knew me, all my weaknesses. And she said to me, Cheryl, I think you would be an amazing nutritionist because you walk this path and you know what those ladies are going through, which is true. So that was a real big boost for me to hear that from her. And she needed a receptionist. So while I was studying nutrition, I went and worked for her in Ponsonby at her Ponsonby Clinic Results Nutrition Centre. And it was so eye-opening for me because I realized, looking at all the people, because I only knew my journey. I mean, I knew my journey, which was a bit tumultuous. And then when I worked for her, I saw all these people coming in and talked and talked. You know, Cheryl loves to talk. I'd talk to them and I would just be like, oh my God, everyone's like me. I'm normal. These are my people. There's so many of us that do these things, that have these thoughts, that act in this way. We're the normal ones. It was like finding my people, and I loved every minute of it. All that did was just make me think, yep, Cheryl, this is your destiny. This is where you need to be. This is your happy place. This is your zone, being with these people. And I realized, gosh, actually, I'm doing okay. In fact, I'm okay. I'm actually in a better place than a lot of these people. So it was really eye-opening for me. The other eye-opening thing was that so many of her clients, they weren't even overweight. That shocked me. They were those beautiful Ponsonby women who on the surface just looked like they've got everything. They've got everything going on. Well, yeah, they worked their ass off for that hot body because they were seeing a nutritionist every 2 weeks. It didn't come through luck or money, although you could argue that having the money to pay for the appointment was helpful. That's true. But they were working their butts off, following a food plan just like all of us, so that they could look that way. So I think it's really, really, that was so eye-opening for me. It was just absolutely fascinating. That was the best work experience I could ever have gotten. It taught me so much about especially the emotional side of this. You know, it was absolutely fascinating. So we are not alone. And if I can help you in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out because it is just a part of this journey that I'm super passionate about, helping as many women as possible get off this diet train, really get progress happening so that you can move forward and solve this food shit once and for all. Now, I've just seen a comment. Oh, hi, Kellyanne. Nice to see you. I trust people more that know what I'm going through more. Yeah, that's true. More than people who think they know. Yep. And there's no shortage of people out there. And it's funny, you know, I'm a practitioner as well. I go on social media and I put suggestions out there, like, you know, we all do. We all have our own way of doing things. There's no right or wrong. But I'll always be the first person too to say I'm not the world's expert. I can give suggestions. I give a template, but that's why I'm very open-minded in changing it because I know that all of us are unique. We all have different metabolisms. Some things are going to work for some people, some things aren't. but it's all a little bit of an experiment. But when it comes to the emotional thing, definitely what I know is that this journey is not about knowledge or intelligence, it's about feelings. And that's the part that's tricky. That is the part that's tricky. How can I give advice to somebody who's going through a totally different journey in their head? I don't know that. So that's why we have to move these things, bring these things together. Food, mindset. When you combine this, it's the magic. This is the power that will have you seeing results and keeping them off. It really is. Oh my gosh, it's half an hour. God, that went quick. I could rewind and do it all again, but I won't. Have a great day. Any questions, let me know. I'll be posting some more yummy recipes later on today. And I'm just glad that today's going better than yesterday. I hope you're having a great day too.